Hi, I'm Larry Puckett, the DCC guy. Well, today we're going to take a look at the ESU Wireless CabControl DCC System. And the reason that the box is empty is because I've already got everything set up down here on the benchtop, ready to show you how it works. So let's go ahead and get started with the video. Hit that little red subscribe button, and when the little bell comes up, click on it and click all. Now, because of the large number of features available here on the throttle that comes with the unit and in the app, I'm going to concentrate primarily on showing you the various features of the CabControl system and some of the basic features of the throttle itself. And in a future video, in a couple of weeks, once I've had more time to actually work with the throttle and with the app, then we'll come back and we'll take an in-depth look at a lot of the advanced features that are available on the throttle and the CabControl system. That's going to be a couple of weeks, as I say, before I'll have a chance to do that. We will also at that time look at how to connect a computer with DecoderPro or JMRI or whatever you have to the system and use it. So keep an eye out for that video down the road. Okay, let's get started with an overview of what comes with the system and how it all goes together. Now this right here is the power supply, and it, as you can see, it's plugged in. It's got a little red pilot light here, so that one is fired up. And as you can see, there's not a lot here. It's got the typical label on the bottom. It's a very robust power supply. It is rated at 14 to 21 or 22 volts output and 7 amps maximum, 150 watts. So there's a lot here, but also if you notice right here on this end, there's a little ventilated area and there's a fan inside of here. So I'm sure that's thermostatically controlled. I haven't had it come on yet while I've been testing it out, but it is there in case you do have a situation where you're running a lot of trains and the heat starts to build up. It can kick on and you'll get flow-through ventilation because you've got the openings on both ends and the fan on one end. So it's going to blow through there, cool it off, and keep it nice and cool for you. Now, the important thing on here is right here. So you can see there's a small knob right here that you can fit a flathead screwdriver in. You could probably put a coin in there, and that allows you to adjust the voltage. So at the lowest point, they say it's 14 volts over here, and all the way around, it's going to give you 21, 22 volts. So you can adjust that. Unfortunately, there's no markers anywhere on the side. So probably what I'll do is take a silver marker and put a dot at the point where I like. But it allows you to make adjustments anywhere from 14 to 22 volts. Now, I will point out that you really need to set it to something about 15 volts because the command station needs more than 14 volts before it's going to operate. Over here, we have the command station and booster. So there is a DCC command station here as well as a DCC booster. And that can put out up to 6 amps. So you're going to have 6 amps of power to run locomotives on your model railroad. And that is a lot, let me tell you. You can run a lot of trains with 6 amps. Now, again, right here, there's an opening, a little vented opening, and there's a fan behind here. And then there's another ventilated opening at this end, so you'll get flow-through ventilation. It only kicks in, it's thermostatically controlled, so it's only going to kick in at certain times. Up on top, we have this long, narrow, transparent, or translucent anyway, cover made out of plastic of some kind. You can pop that out. They say with your fingernails, but mine aren't that thin. And inside here, there are a number of different things. Now, first off, there is a LED right here that comes on. That's green, and that serves as your pilot light. There's another LED down in here that will come on, and it will flash green when power is off to the track. And once you turn power on to the track, it stays on solid green. There's also another LED in here that is blue. and that comes on when there's a Wi-Fi connection to the throttle. Okay, so you'll know when you've got Wi-Fi, you'll know when you've got truck power, and you know when you've got power to the system. I'll let you read about these in the manual. They are basically reset buttons and things of that nature, things that you don't want to play with, and that's probably a reason that they've got this cover plate. Don't inadvertently start pushing these little buttons. You might not like what happens. And then there's a little jumper here. Do not remove that jumper. Leave it the heck alone. And finally, there's a little 6-pin connector right down in here. Just the same thing. Leave it alone. I asked what it was, and they told me it was for their use, and that's all they would tell me. So I have no idea what it does, but stay the heck away from it. Matter of fact, I doubt you'll ever need to remove that transparent cover there. So just leave it alone. Now, the rest of the goodies. Back here on the back is where a lot of stuff happens. So first off, right here on the back, we have this barrel plug socket, and that's the main power coming in from your power supply. So you just plug that sucker in, and guess what? Like I said, you've got a green pilot light. So this is getting power now. And then you have a screw connector here, screw terminal type connector that's removable. You can see that. And you can just attach your wires to it and then plug it in like so. No problem with making those connections. So you've got one for the programming track and another one for your main track power. Then right here, LNET. This is a LocoNet connection. So LocoNet is what Digitrax uses for their throttle networks. We'll talk more about this in a few minutes. And then we have these two plugs here. This is for your ECOS link, which is the ESU DCC System connection, and the same thing for the extended capability here. So there are two different ways to add additional equipment to the system for different purposes. That's all covered in the manual. So it's not something we need to go into for learning anything about the basic operation of this unit. Okay, right here, this is an 8-pin socket, and it's used for an Ethernet connection. So this is your local area network connection. So you can use this to connect the DCC system to your computer. You can use it to connect it to a wireless router on your home network and use that for wireless connections. So there's a lot of neat things you can do here. Right here, we have a USB port. Now, surprisingly, the USB port is not there to be used for connecting to computers. That is only for updating the firmware of the unit and for recharging the battery in the handheld throttle. And it comes with a USB-C cable to run between the USB port, like so, and the charging port on the throttle. Now, as I said, it comes with a USB Type-C connector here, and that can be plugged in right here, and that will recharge your throttle. Now, they say that the throttle will operate for about 5 to 6 hours on a single charge. You can increase that operational time by decreasing the brightness of the display, and it's in the manual how to do that, and that's one of the advanced things we'll talk about later on. So you can do that. You can also change the amount of time it takes before the unit automatically shuts the display off. So you can set it for up to 30 minutes with the display on before it cuts off. If you do cut that back to a reasonable small amount of time, then you're going to get a little bit longer battery life out of it. So there's a lot of neat features on the throttle. I'm only going to get into the basic operation today, but this is basically an Android tablet. So it's got the Android 10 operating system on it. So any of you who have an Android phone or an Android tablet know what I'm talking about. You guys with iPads and iPhones, it's a little different, but it's, fairly the same idea. And then there's all kinds of things in here. Now, this looks very much like the older mobile throttle that ESU has been making for a number of years. The main difference is it's got more buttons on it. Also, this knob right here, which is your throttle, is made out of plastic instead of metal. That helps a bit with the weight because it's a nice weight. Fits in your hand nice, and it's a nice weight. And part of that is because they've done some things to decrease the heft of the throttle. And the buttons on the side, there's 4 buttons, 2 on each side, that can be programmed for functions. And they also have a new device here. It's called a brake slider, and this can be used to brake your locomotives. So you can slide that for differential amounts of braking. Now let me point out that some of the features on this throttle will only work with the LokSound version 5 decoders. And unfortunately, the brake slider is one of those things that only works with LokSound 5. Okay, so let me turn it on, and the on-off button is right here on top, and I'll push on that, and you can see, I hope, yes, there it is, ESU comes up on the screen, and it's going to boot the system and come up. So let's wait for that to happen. Okay, now if you look here, you can see a blue LED showing. That means that this is automatically connected via Wi-Fi to the DCC system. Now, you'll also notice that the green LED is flashing. It's right here at my fingertip. That means there's no power on the track. So let's turn power on the track on. So how do you do that? Also, this little red light right here on the throttle, that also tells you that there's no power on the track. Well, right here, there's a stop button. It says STOP, and you hit that, and you can see we now have track power. That green LED has gone solid. This has turned from red to green, so we know there's track power. You can also hear the decoder in my RS11 here. Okay, so as I showed you, on the back of the power supply, you can adjust the voltage. But how do you know what the voltage is going to be going out to the track? Well, there's a quick way to be able to check that as you make that adjustment. You go right up here to the little menu icon there, and go down to CabControl Settings, down here towards the bottom. Click on that, and then scan down till you get to Booster Settings. Click there, and you can see right here it says 15 volts. Now that is an active display, so as you change the voltage on the power supply, that will actively change as well. So you can read exactly what the voltage is going to be. Well, you can read what it's supposed to be, because right there it says 15 volts. But if you look right here on my DCC Concepts alpha meter, it is actually reading 14.76 volts going out to the track. So there's a 1/4 of a volt discrepancy between what the cab control says it should be and what the meter here is reading. And I also have my DCC Specialties amp meter, and I can put that on the track, and hopefully you can read it. It's reading 14.3 volts. So none of these agree. So I can either get, it's either 14.3 volts, 14.75 roughly volts, or 15 volts. So you get the rate, you get somewhere in the ballpark of what it is. Okay, let's go on and take a look at some of the other features. So here is the home screen. Let's take a look at how you can access a locomotive and control it. So I'm going to press the little locomotive icon right here, and that's the app for the throttle. So click on that, and so you see you have several options here. You can drive, you can get a locomotive list, you can control switches and accessory panels, a programming track connection, programming on the main, DCC address, the cab control settings for various things, and then various app settings. So let's see, how do you access a locomotive that you want to control? Well, I haven't entered that many yet. I've got this one. So you get a locomotive list up there. You click on it, and it takes you right back to the drive screen. And that screen is where you control the locomotive. And you can do that with the throttle knob, or you can use your finger to actively increase the power to the track. And one thing, I don't know if you noticed, but watch this knob as I do that. You can see it's rotating. So the knob actually follows the on-screen. So you can control it either way, either with the knob itself or using your finger on the screen. Okay? And if you notice, as I increase it, it goes from 0 to 126. As I increase it with my finger, the knob changes position, and it tells you it's at speed step 30 out of 128. Take it back down to 0. Okay, let's put a locomotive on the track, and I'll show you something else. Okay, I've got a locomotive on the track down there below me, and I have the volume turned off so you can hear what I'm saying. But I can still do things like blow the whistle. I've just got the prime mover turned off right now. Okay, so how do you control it? Well, that's pretty straightforward. You just turn the knob, and the locomotive is going to move. But how do you change directions? Well, there's actually two options for that. Number one, you can see these arrows here. That indicates the direction of travel. You can see it goes from white to blue when I touch it. So that tells you that it's going to go in the opposite direction there. I've got the locomotive going to the right. If I bring the knob all the way down and like this, you can see that each time I get to the end of travel of the knob rotation, it changes direction. So now it's going that way. If I do it again, it's going this way. So that's a very quick and easy way to change the direction of travel of the locomotive. So now it's going to go reverse. Stop it again, it's going to go the other direction. So with one hand, you can control the locomotive and easily change the direction of travel. So operation with the throttle is fairly straightforward, very intuitive as how to select a locomotive, how to increase its speed, and how to change direction. Now, there are a number of icons down here for all of the functions. So you have a large number of functions that you can just access, turn the light on, blow the horn, coupler clink, dynamic brake. All of these features are there available at your fingertip. Very quick access. Okay, so what about using other manufacturers' throttles with the system, as I mentioned earlier? Well, right off, this is a TCS UWT-100. It works with the UWT-50 as well. And all I have to do is go down to Network Options right here, select the network. I could say Add a Network, and it would scan for the network. And it comes right up, ESU Wi-Fi. So I hit that. I'm going to hit Escape because I've already got that in there. And as you can see, that locomotive is already up and accessible. So I can just control it. No problem with that. And it works the same way with any Wi-Fi based throttle. It will also work the same way with your cell phones, your iPhones, your Android phones, running either the Y-Throttle app or the Engine Driver app as appropriate. You can just connect to the Wi-Fi in the base here, and you're ready to roll. But what about the Digitrax systems? Let's take a look at that. Okay, here's one of my Digitrax throttles. This is a DT602D. It's the duplex version. And you can see back here in the background, right here, I have a Digitrax UR92, which is their duplex receiver for communicating with their wireless throttles. So I can bring this in here. Let's turn this on. There we go. Bring that up. And because I've already, worked with this before, just to make sure everything was set up and running, it comes up with this locomotive already on it. You could also just hit locomotive here and dial up the address you want, hit loco again, and you've got it. And then I have control of the locomotive. If you have a Digitrax throttle that is not radio capable but is wired, you can just plug it in to one of the sockets, to this socket here. Or if you have a panel, a fascia panel from Digitrax, you could just plug it in through the LocoNet port on the back of the CabControl unit. You can use Digitrax throttles, you can use Wi-Fi based throttles, you can use Wi-Fi based cell phones. And one other neat feature about the throttle that comes with the system, because it is Wi-Fi based, it will work with an NCE system using Wi-Fi tracks. Or you could use this with a Digitrax system using their LNWI or LINWI interface for Wi-Fi. So it works with other types of systems that have a Wi-Fi interface, and you can use your Wi-Fi based throttles with it, or you can use your Digitrax throttles with it as well. So it's a very versatile system. Well, that's a wrap for today's video. Hopefully I've given you a pretty good idea of how the ESU CabControl Wireless DCC system works and introduced you to some of the great features that ESU has included in the system. So take a look at this, go online, go to the ESU website, just look up ESU, and take a look at the CabControl manual. You can download a PDF and read it for yourself. Take a look at all of the great features that are built in that I haven't had time yet to really get into, and that we'll be taking a look at in a future video. It'll probably be 2, maybe 3 weeks before I have a chance to get a handle on everything that is built into the new CabControl system and the throttle, because they've really packed a lot of neat features in there, and also the ability to use Digitrax throttles and TCS throttles, and any of your cell phones that have Y-throttle apps on them, you'll be able to use those as well. True, you can't use NCE and you can't use MRC and probably a few others, but it does come close to being a universal system for DCC. Have a great weekend, have a great week, and I'll see you here next week where we'll be taking a look at a new signaling system for the module. So come on back then. Bye now.